A Twisted Time, Chapter 32, Thin Ice. A hush fell over the arena, besides the occasional anxious murmur and encouraging shout.
Do you know what Naruto's been up to for the past month?
Kakashi, who was persistent behind his students, asked quietly while folding his arms over his Green Army Jonin vest. Naruto and Haku were now circling each other, exchanging taunting remarks. He's been training with Jiraiya-sama, Sakura explained, noting how so legendary Sani was currently beckoning for her own mentor to take her seat beside him. Apparently Naruto has a few tricks up his sleeve, but he wouldn't tell me what they are. Kakashi nodded.
I wouldn't doubt it, he said. Haku will be a tough opponent for Naruto either way.
Sasuke chipped in. Sakura's stomach twisted at the sound of his voice. Despite how relieved she felt over him not outwardly despising her, she couldn't understand how he managed to seem so calm and normal while there were so many things left unsaid between them.
His strengths are in his defenses and speed. Naruto needs to be smart or he'll get his ass kicked.
Sasuke, of all people, would know this after fighting Haku himself in the Land of Waves.
That kid is really starting to make a name for himself,
Kakashi added, eyes pointing over the cluster of spectators in the Land of Waves.
But Naruto is too, especially now that he's training with Jiraiya.
Naruto and Haku were still circling each other, at closer proximities, and their voices were loud enough for the crowd to hear. You come a long way, Haku, Naruto acknowledged, his three kunai laced between his fingers in anticipation. Now it's time to find out who's the better ninja between us. Haku didn't seem intimidated.
I'm far stronger than I was when we first met, Naruto. I sure hope you've been training hard, or this won't be a long fight.
Sakura couldn't help smiling. Haku and Naruto had developed a close bond over the months. But in spite of this, Naruto was incapable of suppressing his toxic, competitive nature in the heat of combat. And the match was bound to be interesting. Unsurprisingly, Naruto made the first move. It won't be. I'll defeat you in no time, he cried, while conjuring a dozen clones and swarming his opponent. Orange blurs attacked aggressively from different angles, firing weapons, throwing fists, and getting a feel for Haku's defensive skills. And they were impeccable, as Sasuke predicted. In a series of fluid, sweeping movements, Haku managed to prevent each and every clone from reaching him, by dodging and using only a small handful of Senbon to deflect the advancing weapons. Oohs and ahs reigned across the stadium at the flawless and basic performance. Not deterred, Naruto tried again, rounding on Haku with twice as many clones. This time, they were all far lighter on their feet, their strikes more deliberate, their efforts combined to maximize them. Sending rather impressive formations to his signature Uzumaki barrage, Naruto and his clones sprang off each other's backs, flying each other through the air to increase momentum, and attempted to finish sequences with open palm strikes at Haku's chakra points. If you were fighting any other ninja, Naruto would, without question, manage to land at least several of these precisely calculated hits, maybe even win the fight then and there. But he was up against a ninja with unique and unrivaled defense prowess, so he wouldn't experience such success. Once the others were defeated, the only remaining group of Narutos, likely included the real Naruto, advanced. One clone plunged himself down and grasped the two others by their wrists and were swinging them around and hurling them towards the enemy. But their paths were blocked by ice spikes projecting straight out of the ground a protective wall. All the clones vanished in clouds of smoke, and Naruto himself was thrown backwards. A spike managed to sever his leg in the process and tear the orange fabric of his pants by his calf. Come on, Naruto, Sakura thought, absentmindedly gripping onto the platform's metal rail with her gloved hands, gritting her teeth. Try something else?
This approach isn't going to work,
Sasuke mumbled, voicing her thoughts. Sakura was immersed through the fight enough to temporarily ignore her discomfort over Sasuke's presence turned to him. You nearly defeated Haku once. How did you do it? She asked, while glancing at his profile. Sakura had been unconscious for that portion of the battle at Bridge 7. All she knew that it ended with Sasuke victorious and Haku at the verge of death. Sasuke's eyes opened a fraction wider when she addressed him. He didn't face her when he answered.
It was kind of a blur, he confessed quietly, but the trick is to weaken him from a distance. My fire style takes up with that.
Both Kakashi and Sakura nodded, while turning their attentions back to the fight. Naruto usually thrived at close quarters combat, so what was he going to do?
You'll need more to do more than that to keep up with me,
Haku sneered with a charming smirk. This comment seemed to rile Naruto up enough to spring back to his feet, dismissing the injury in his leg. Don't you get cocky! I'm just getting started! He growled, pulling his hands together to perform seals for a jutsu. Everyone leaned forward in their seats. Finally, a counter attack. What? Our first ever jutsu! A swirl of steam engulfed the competitors. In front of it emerged 20 gorgeous, naked men. Sakura's face paled, then it red. You've gotta be kidding me, she groaned while placing her hands on her cheeks. He's getting away with too creative with that technique, said Sauske, nose crinkling and eyebrow twitching. But Kakashi, along with many members of the stadium, was chuckling. You can certainly tell who he's been training with. That's quite a distraction tactic. But why men? Sasuke asked, stealing the question right out of Sakura's mouth. Kakashi shrugged. Maybe it's wishful thinking. That's when Sakura recalled the time Naruto barged into the bridge builder's house and claimed to have met the most attractive guy ever last night, in reference to his first meeting with Haku. Sasuke's mind clearly presented it with the same memory, because it was his turn for his face to pale. Sakura exhaled deeply through her nose. She still needed to throttle her mischievous, blonde teammate for using a sexy jutsu, imitating her on Sasuke in the force of death. If this stupid trick actually worked, and Naruto survived the fight, he'd have her to deal with later. Whether or not the illusion had any real impact on Haku, it seemed to stun or confuse him for a second too long. Naruto managed to get directly behind Haku and nearly landed an open palmed blow to the base of his neck. But Haku shifted just in time, so Naruto's hand collided on his shoulder instead. Extremely abruptly, in the heat of his shock, Haku performed the seals for a new jutsu with a single hand. A cyclone of snow and ice was suddenly engulfing Naruto, searing his skin and knocking him right off his feet. The localized winter storm followed him everywhere he scrambled, tossed, and turned. He was trapped. The crowd's volume increased tenfold as spectators marveled over Haku's remarkable storm manipulation ability. Even though the blizzard was confined to where Naruto was standing, the temperature of the entire stadium seemed to drop several degrees. The wind howled, and hail pellets cracked against the floor of the arena. He's going to freeze to death! Sakura thought with a stab of fear, while Naruto's exposed skin tinged with a sickly shade of blue and body curled in on itself. But surely Haku would stop before it got to that point, wouldn't he? The seconds dragged on and the eyes grew restless. Snow and ice were piling up around Naruto, barricading him in place, and what Sakura could see, his resisting and fidgeting was weakening by the second. Haku circled around the squall like a feline trapping its prey. His former title ninja hunter never seemed more suitable. Apprehensive murmurs split through the stands, and Hayate even inched forward, determining whether to call the match. Sakura tightened her hold on the rail and narrowed her eyes. Snap out of it! She called, Naruto! Come on! Get out of there! Instantly, the atmosphere shifted. First, the ground rumbled ominously, causing the audience members to rock in their ass seats, some of them shouting with surprise. Next, a red glow spread somewhere within the storm, grew steadily larger. Then, something unexpected happened. Naruto blasted his way out of the storm. Hey! It's a ninja storm! Of the ultimate variety. Boo! Shattered the ice and breaking in the wind, lost himself at Haku on all fours. He was cloaked in the Ninetales' bubbly chakra, moving at lightning-fast speed. Sakura, probably just everyone else there, couldn't breathe. He struck, and the impact put Haku's head to the side, forcing him to end the storm. A nasty bruise was left behind on his cheek. A close quarters battle ensued, where Naruto, whose speed and strength were enhanced by the fox's power, was right in his element. Haku, still startled by Naruto's newfound strength, spent most of the fight dodging and blocking. Despite her relief from Naruto's escape from the storm, Sakura's heart hammered with fright at the sight of the fox's monstrous energy. Please, Naruto, don't lose control of yourself. Please. Her eyes sought out Jiraiya, who was also watching the fight intently, but making no motion to restrain Naruto in any way. Ice Stone. Haku cried desperately, slamming his hand to the ground, while the other performed the hand seals. A thick, gleaming wall of ice materialized around Haku's body, blocking Naruto's path. His parents seemed to pull Naruto to his senses too, because he froze in place, and the bubbly cloak began to fizzle out. Both competitors were evidently exhausted now, considering how Haku was capable of producing only about 3/4 of his Ice Stone technique, and Naruto no longer being supported by the Ninetales chakra. He was stumbling over, breathing heavily. Do something smart, Naruto. Sasuke growled, and Sakura nodded in agreement, pursing her lips. It was clear the match was nearing its end, as he was practically clutching the railing for dear life. Naruto lowered to the defensive stance and reached into his weapon pouch. Here! He cried while tossing a handful of explosive tags at the icy shield. It detonated on impact, but failed to even scratch the dome. That won't work. Haku glowed between breaths. This defense is nearly impenetrable. Damn it! Was Naruto's frustrated response, while he tossed another fistful of explosive towards his opponents for good measure, before he started racing around Haku's defensive spear. Obviously, the only way Naruto could get to Haku was through the dome's opening on the other side, which was precisely where Haku was laying in wait. Haku turned to face the dome's opening, with a fistful of Senbon in hand, preparing to meet Naruto there. But at the intersection, just as the two of them were about to clash, Naruto disappeared in a puff of smoke. Rasengan! Smash! Wait, what? Sakura gasped, her eyes just about bulging out of their sockets. Two Narutos were now standing directly behind Haku in a pile of shattered ice, supporting a small, glowing blue ball in their hands. The Rasengan advanced nearly as rapidly as it appeared, but made no difference. What was that mean? Completely invulnerable, defenseless position. Naruto merely had to follow through his movement to land an open palm on a chakra point in Haku's back. Haku collapsed to the ground, paralyzed. The entire audience was rendered speechless for a long moment before, slowly but surely, cheers erupted. Sakura was on the verge of toppling over the railing. He won, she breathed, standing with bewilderment. I can't believe it! So, the second time he threw them, they weren't explosive tags at all. Kakashi said, and the amazement was audible as sound. Naruto and one of his clones disguised themselves as explosive tags. The third Naruto, who ran around the ice dome, was a mere distraction. Sasuke was shaking his head, smirking. What a guy. I thought he was screwed back there. He won! Sakura repeated, only half listening. Her heart was racing with excitement. Leave it to Naruto to win in the most dramatic, unconventional way possible. Before she could stop herself, Sakura slung one arm around Sasuke's shoulder, and the other around Kakashi's arm, because he was too tall for her to reach his shoulder. Squeezed tightly. She laced them both before they had a chance to respond. The celebration over Naruto's win was drawn out. Atlanta Wave's villagers did not seem disappointed in the slightest. After all, Naruto had played a major role in liberating them from Gato's tyranny. Naruto returned to the platform after curiously ensuring that Haku was in good hands. He would be unconscious for at least a full day, Sakura figured, and Naruto truly did manage to cut off his chakra circulation. Shortly after Naruto gave Sakura, Hinata, who managed to stick around for the fight despite her injuries, and Kakashi bear hugs, and Sasuke a fun punch on his shoulder, did everyone in the stadium seem to calm down. And then Hayate's voice called out, Ugh, Neji Hyuga and Sasuke Uchiha. Please make your way down to the arena for the fourth match. And now, a fight I think we desperately needed. I mean, it's weird. It's kind of like how Piccolo and Vegeta never fought. Sakura's voice throat dried. So caught up in the previous fight, it didn't really occur to her there was only one turn left for her own. Imagining herself stepping out into the tunnel and into the spotlight was enough to make her stomach grow. She also found herself nervous for Sasuke, because he had a huge fight ahead of him too. Her eyes drifted down to the platform where Tenten and Guy were wishing Neji luck. It was the first time she had seen Guy since his prized student was killed, and as a result of her actions in this life somehow, her insides squirmed even more. You got this, bastard! Naruto growled while clapping his rival in the back. You better win if you want to stay on my level. While other encouraging words were exchanged, Sakura backed away silently, hoping to slip off to the bathroom and get a hold of herself. Sakura, hold on. Crap! Yeah? She asked, to meet Sasuke's serious stare. He was looking intimidating again for some reason. Don't go that way, he said quietly, gesturing in the direction she was about to walk in. Kakashi and Naruto were also listening. Avoid the small guy from the sand. He sounded like he was about to blow a fuse when I walked past him earlier. Sakura's gaze drifted over to Gaara, whose body was terse and vibrating. He was gripping his forearms and staring hungrily at teammate, which had gathered beside his own squad. After the incident with Rock Lee in the preliminary matches, it was apparent that someone claiming Garo might blow a fuse was not to be taken slightly. Once the other matches had it probably excited him somehow and increased his bloodthirst. Right, Sakura mumbled, knowing how Conqueror was still awkwardly clinging to the rail. Creepy weirdo, Naruto muttered. I'll warn the others. He then moved towards where Hinata and her teammates were congregated. Sasuke nodded approvingly and left before Sakura had a chance to wish him luck, or thank him for not letting her back away to her death by Gaara's hand. So, Kakashi said while the other two were out of earshot, I heard that some unusual things have happened since we last spoke. Sakura half smiled. Unusual didn't even begin to cover it. She felt a tiny surge of warmth and hope at being alone with her sensei. It was one of the few people she felt she could trust, and also didn't despise her. Her nerves calmed enough for her to abandon her bathroom trip to collect herself. She also wanted to take advantage of her chance to finally speak to Kakashi privately. Your Fuja Huanin shield was created seamlessly, by the way, he said with raised eyebrows. I examined it during our travels in the Land of Rivers. It seems to be holding up. Sakura nodded slowly. Good, she said. I expect Sasuke told you about the circumstances around him needing it in the first place, then? Yeah, he did. Kakashi answered in a somber tone. Sakura was honestly relieved she wouldn't have to be the bearer of bad news, for that particular incident at least. You know about the disease, too? She asked. The gist of it. Sakura swallowed a lump in her throat. She desperately wanted Kakashi to know about everything, as she was, in fact, the target of Orochimaru with Kabuto's disease, how Kabuto was stalking her, and how they would be vigilant throughout the rest of the exam because their enemies might be piloting another war. She also wanted to find out what was so special about the Land of Rivers. But she couldn't find the words, and she was interrupted. Let the fourth match begin! Sakura's heart leapt at the sight of Sasuke and Neji's ceremonious pre-battle handshake, and Hayate falling back to the sidelines. She had to chat with her sensei about another time, but there was a second of this fight she would risk missing. The honesty to share her sentiments, as indicated by the delighted screams and shouts that met her ears. The young prodigies leapt backwards to square each other up, resuming battle stances and plastering under most serious glares. This fight would certainly be the most vicious one yet. Prepare to lose, Uchiha! Neji spat, while bending on his knees and extending his arms out on either side, palms up in a wide stance. Bring it on, Hyuga, Sasuke replied with a cocky smirk, his fingers itching towards the sword at his hip. Neji snorted. Your defeat is inevitable, as it was for the rest of your ill-fated clan. A stony silence followed that remark. Aside from a few astonished gasps, Naruto, who had rejoined his team, made an audible growl, and Sakura was frozen with surprise. I forgot what a complete asshole that guy used to be, she thought while grinding her teeth, blood boiling. What was that? Sasuke hissed, the sparks right clean off his face and a deep red staining his irises. Damn! Uh-oh. Not even wasting time. Already Sharingan mode. Neji didn't seem to care he was treading on thin ice. In fact, it seemed almost like he was deliberately trying to sharing it. Resisting your fate is useless. Take Rock Lee, my former teammate, who wanted so badly for me to defeat me despite his limitations. Sasuke's hand dripped to his weapon pouch and his jaw locked. If only he accepted his shortcomings, maybe things would have ended differently for him. You best learn from his errors. What the hell is wrong with you? Naruto bellowed. He appeared on the verge of leaping over a railing and pummeling Neji himself, regardless of exhausted after the fight. Rock Lee was... Easy, Naruto, Kakashi warned while placing a hand on his shoulder. Neji is just trying to get into Sasuke's head. Well, he's sure getting to mine, Sakura thought barely, seriously contemplating bounding into the arena herself. As anticipated, Neji's comments didn't sit well with Sasuke. Surprisingly, he responded, even though he wasn't one for talking. Shut up, he said, as the two of them began circling each other, muscles tense and weapons strung between their fingers. I would be dead in the second exam if it wasn't for Rock Lee. That could have been my funeral last month. The stadium was so silent Sakura could hear a pin drop. Lee didn't live a long life. Sasuke continued, his chakra spiking dangerously. but he pursued his goals tirelessly, and today I'll defeat you and fulfill one of them in his stead. Sakura had a vice grip on the rail again. For some reason, felt tears prickle at the corners of her eyes. Sasuke's speech was followed by applause, as he likely won over the hearts of whatever spectators he hadn't won over already. I expected a better of a supposed genius. What a disappointment, Neji scoffed. Sasuke chose not to answer, probably fed up with chatting. He fired a fistful of shuriken at his opponent and the match began. Neji's abilities at close-range combat were unrivaled, except perhaps by older members of his clan. But Sasuke seemed to anticipate that, and managed to keep his distance for the first portion of the battle. The pace of the fight was extraordinarily fast, especially because Sasuke was on the offensive, was circling Neji at breakneck speeds, while sending fireballs and explosives attached to weapons at his opponent. Neji, in turn, was surprisingly light and graceful on his feet, despite his broad and stalking stature, managed to evade most of the attacks with the help of his all-seeing Byakugan. The crowd was dazzled by Sasuke's fire-breathing, and in various ways he managed to manipulate the elements. An enormous, roaring fireballs, small explosive bursts, and wave-like swoops. Neji was forced to use a basic wire release technique to free himself from a ring of fire Sasuke managed to trap him in, while only after he managed to sense Neji's sleeve in the skin of his forearm. Sasuke was showing no mercy, as Sakura was suspecting he was still enraged over Neji's insults at the start of the match. You seem unsteady, Sasuke jeered, aware that he had the upper hand. If my eyes serve me right, you get extra cautious when I attack from a certain angle. Compensating for a weakness, are you, Hyuga? Sakura smirked. Sasuke Sharingan's insisted in pinpointing Neji's blind spots. Enough! Neji shot back before advancing, using chakra to propel his feet along the arena's surface. Finally managed to catch his opponent, and Tatsutsu fight ensued, a style that put Sasuke at a huge disadvantage. The rate of Neji's attacks accelerated, and without his predictive ocular abilities, Sasuke might have lost the fight then and there. He barely managed to block Neji's onslaught of open palms with his forearms and fists. He clearly knew that he couldn't risk letting one hand land. A single, perfect hit from Hyuga's gentle fist would put an end to the match, or, depending on where it aimed, one's life. Neji grew frustrated by Sasuke's ability to keep stride with him, so he kicked things up a notch. He began to turn as a swirl of chakra rose up from his feet. Then, in a slicing burst, a rotating cloak of blue chakra surrounded him, reflecting all of Sasuke's attacks and even throwing him backwards a far distance. Ugh! Sasuke groaned as his back slammed against the ground. He rolled over the balls of his feet, trying to reorient himself, but he wasn't quick enough. Neji was on him again in a flash, pulling Sasuke up by his back of his shirt, and aiming a chocolate palm directly at Sarah's chest. This is where it ends, Sasuke Uchiha! He shied, while throwing another hit. 8 palms! He hammered like a machine, striking various spots on Sasuke's torso, arms, and shoulders. 16 palms! Shit! Sakura cursed. Sasuke was in danger now. Neji was using his infamous 8 tricast 64 palms technique to steal the entirety of Sasuke's chakra circulation, and, feeling hostile enough, damage Sasuke's vital organs. Fortunately, hostile barely captured the intense rage Neji seemed to feel towards the Uchiha air. 32 palms! 64 palms! Sakura wasn't the only one who seemed to sense her troubled teammate. Sasuke, do something! Naruto cried. Sasuke-kun, come on! Sakura joined in, surprising herself by how loudly her voice projected across the arena. Suddenly, there was another blast of blue chakra. For a brief moment, Sakura thought it was Neji's revolving heaven technique again, which would surely cause Sasuke some serious damage. But it wasn't, because this time it was Neji who was hurled backwards, and the chakra felt different. It crackled, it chirped. When the chakra blasted and floating dust for the arrested settled, Sasuke was standing there, breathing heavily, holding his sword in front of him. Electric blue currents were pulsing along the blade. Sakura's breath caught in her throat. Chidori? She breathed while gazing down at Sasuke in amazement. So Sasuke managed to just protect Chidori out of his entire body, and now challenge through his sword? Sakura remembered Sasuke could only achieve that level of control technique after he defended the village in her old life. That it is. Kakashi answered, as he could hear the smile in his tone. Sasuke's chakra control is exceptional, so it didn't take him long to discover that his Chidori didn't have to remain localized in his hand. That is wicked, Naruto muttered, jaw hanging open, not even bothering to pretend he wasn't impressed by his rival's stunning new skills. But the catch is, Kakashi continued, that technique requires an enormous amount of chakra. I suspect Sasuke only has enough to use Chidori one more time. Then he'll need to make it count. Using Neji's sock to his favor, Sasuke advanced with speed. Neji scrambled up in preparation to defend himself. But then Sasuke paused, skating to a halt, and lost his sword directly at Neji's head like he was throwing a javelin. Neji anticipated the attack and performed his revolving heaven technique again, and the swirl chakra blocked the sword, sending it flying to the other end of the arena. What now? Sakura thought, just about bending out the metal rail how tightly she was gripping it. But Sasuke didn't seem phased. He held out his hand and produced another Chidori, this time directly into Sarah's palm. Then, to Sakura's utter disbelief, he threw it along the same path his sword had taken, towards where Neji was slowing and spinning, dropping his guard. Sasuke lowered his stance and held his arms out, like a puppeteer manipulating a puppet. He suspended a ball of humming electricity through the air in deliberate measured fashion. Most of the audience was on their feet now, because of Sasuke's mastery of the lightning element was unimaginable for a Genin his age. By the time Neji stopped spinning and realigned himself with Sasuke, the ball of electricity was hovering in the air directly behind him. But he didn't seem to notice its presence until Sasuke raised his hand and summoned it forward, straight through Neji's side. He must have persisted in Chidori in Neji's blind spot, Sakura thought, covering her mouth with her hands, while, in a spurt of blood, the ball of electricity sliced Neji's hip and returned to Sasuke's hand. Sasuke caught his Chidori effortlessly, and on impact, fizzled out and disappeared. Neji was frozen on the spot, probably from a combination of shock and pain. Sasuke moved forward one last time, driving his heel into Neji's chest and sending him to the ground, winning him and ending the match. The crowd all but exploded. It was probably audible from the other four great nations. Yes! Sakura squealed in a heat of thrilling moment. Suzy hugs with her teammate and Sensei. I knew he'd do it! Naruto cheered. Attaboy, bastard! Sasuke could have killed Neji there, you know, Kakashi said quietly. So only his students could hear. Only a few inches over, and he could have sent that Chidori straight through Neji's abdomen. Sakura drew her attention back to the arena, where Sasuke, who had just been declared the winner by Hayate, was crouched beside Neji, exchanging words with him. It was impossible to hear them over the screaming and clapping, but Sakura really wished she could. Kakashi was right that Sasuke could easily end the guy's life, but as Sasuke had admitted to her in the forest of death, he didn't like killing. When the mags arrived on site to examine the two of them, Sasuke even offered a hand to Neji, a noble and respectful gesture. Neji took it and nodded. Sakura's heart fluttered. It's 2 for 2 so far, Kakashi said with a grin. My team is undefeated. You'll keep our winning streak up, Sakura-chan. I just know it, Naruto beamed, while patting her on the back enthusiastically. Her stomach flipped at the reminder she was up next. Another thought occurred to her. She chose to fix it instead. Naruto, she said slowly, her eyes clouding over slightly. You're going to fight Sasuke next. If we even make it to another round of fights this time, that is. Huh? That's right, Kakashi chimed in. In the next round of fights, Hinata will fight Temari, and you will fight Sasuke. Naruto nodded energetically, eyes wide. Oh man, I can't wait! Sakura-chan, if you win, you'll fight the winner of Gaara and Shikamaru's match, she answered, feeling uneasy again. Knowing Shikamaru, he'd probably forfeit the fight if Gaara pulled anything weird. Or probably would, if Sasuke's earlier comments about him held true. The waiting period between the fourth and fifth fights ended far too soon. Sakura and Kabuto were called out to the arena before Sasuke even made it back up to rejoin his team. After partying with Kakashi and Naruto, Sakura started walking down the platform opposite the ranks of Gaara's team. Towards the stairs, she descended to the tunnel. She ventured ahead in a daze, vaguely aware of the words of encouragement and pats on the arm she received. I'm nervous. I feel sick. I want today to be over. She tended in her thoughts while praying for a distraction of some sort. She met Sasuke at the top of the stairs. He was evidently exhausted after his fight. There was sweat lining his forehead, cuts and bruises, visible on the exposed skin of his arm. But he stood at attention when his eyes met Sakura's. So he had to resist her ridiculous urge to wrap her arms around him in search of comfort. She was feeling elated over his victory, and hyper-anxious over her own fight. So now was probably not the time to pull the other emotions into the mix. So instead, she nodded politely and offered a weak smile. "Good job," she said. "Good luck," he answered, watching her pass and ascend the stairs without straying from the spot. "Focus, Sakura! Focus!" Very sure of willpower she had, she pushed aside her thoughts of Sauske, ignoring how she could still feel him wanting her, concentrating on not tripping down the staircase, making a complete fool of herself. Sakura sucked in a deep breath before she emerged from the tunnel, temporarily blinded by the bright sunlight. Kabuto was already there, and was standing by Hayate in the center of the arena. She approached in a trance, the heels of her boots clicking against the solid ground. The crowd's roars sounded fuzzy, and the time travel scroll disguised as her weapon holster felt like a ball and chain. Kabuto looked as smug and confident as he always did, wearing his signature circular glasses, dark clothing, and white waistband. His arms were folded across his chest, exposing the gleaming armored plates fastened to the back of his fingerless gloves. He set a broad smile at Sakura and pointedly ignored it. Hayate beckoned for the two of them to step forward and initiate the ceremonious handshake. "Let me know if either one of you wants to forfeit at any point," he said in a classic board point tone. "Otherwise, I'll determine when the match has ended." "Yeah! Sakura-chan!" Naruto's voice trumpeted over the stadium, followed by several whoops and screams. Sakura glanced at bubbly blonde and jumping up and down the competitor's platform. Noticed that Sauske was now standing beside him. On the opposite side of the stands, Tsunade was raising her glass. Sakura chuckled and shook her head, feeling the tiniest burst of confidence. "All right, let the fifth match begin," Hayate proclaimed before jumping back to safety. Sakura and Kabuto instinctively did the same thing. Sakura assumed a battle stance of leads, but she had grown accustomed to since she trained with him, standing straight with her arm outstretched, palm up. It was impossible to predict how a battle would play out. It's like studying for a test or practicing for a sport. No matter how many skills a person had at their disposal, if those skills couldn't be adapted to the situation at hand, they were worthless. The fight commenced immediately. Both Sakura and Kabuto started by attacking at a distance with weapons. She leaped around, firing handfuls of shuriken from various angles, and he deflected them with a poised kunai and metal plates on his gloves. She managed to evade his own barrages of weapons by dodging and deflecting them with carefully tossed shuriken of her own. It didn't take long for Sakura to grow frustrated with the nature of their fight. And when she caught a short break, she punched Sakura down her leg. She kicked her foot in the air and drove the heel of her sandal into the ground, and from where it met, a cracked form and tore forward, directly at Kabuto, in a series of rumbling smashes. Well, this was Tsunade's signature moves, as he had the destabilizing effect she wanted. Sakura charged while Kabuto regained his footing, fully aware that he was faster than she was, also stronger than he was. The trick was to get close. When she caught up with him, Sakura ducked and aimed a low, sweeping kick at Kabuto's legs, forcing him to jump over to dodge. But just as he was landing, Sakura slammed a chakra-enhanced fist to the ground, was riveted and crackled along the surface, and Kabuto lost his balance again. Bingo! Without wasting a second, she plunged forward and drove her other fist straight into his abdomen. Crack! With a poof, Kabuto disappeared and was replaced by a log. Sakura blasted in pieces, sending splinters flying in all directions. Crap! A substitution! Where is he? But thankfully, Kabuto's final presence was a hard one to miss. So when he reappeared behind him, Sakura was ready for him. She twisted around and raised her arms to block his attack, but realized the hand directed at her was a scalpel throbbing with chakra. It would surely tear right through her arms if she didn't get the hell out of the way. With nowhere to escape, Sakura resorted to an acrobatic mover she had practiced at her training of Lee. She flung her arms over her head and leaped back into deep limbo, her body parallel with the ground below. Kabuto's arm and torso stretched right on top of her during her successful dodge. Before he could change direction into motion, Sakura took hold of his shirt. She cried as she flipped him to the side and threw him away from her. Kabuto slid quite a distance before getting a hold of himself again. Sakura was honestly a little surprised by how much strength he summoned to fling him away, especially considering how much larger than her he was. The heat of battle against an enemy like him, using the power of strength of 100 seal, came effortlessly. She caught a whiff of a distant cheering in the background. The Kabuto didn't give Sakura any time to relish in her short-lived success. Before she knew it, an enormous water projectile burst out of the ground at her feet with immense force, sending her toppling over to the side. Looks like he's a wire type, Sakura thought while he rolled away, out of the projectile's landing to fire. It followed her, though, coursing through the air in a flying, rusty current, threatening to nail into one of the arena's walls. But so am I! Although wire type Jitsu was a specialty of hers, Sakura did have an affinity for the element. She tried the only counterattack she could think of at the moment, and faced the water projectile head-on, raising her arms and sending out a pulse of her own chakra through her fingertips, attempting to latch onto the water with the chakra before it met her. And it worked. In the very last second, Sakura managed to redeflect the aerial stream by splitting it into two parts. It was cascaded to the arena floor and showered the spectators up with water droplets. Kabuto frowned and lowered his own arms, pausing briefly to catch his breath. Sakura did the same, reassessed her surroundings now that the water was pulling across the floor. The changes to the battle environment might be advantageous in combat if she strategized, especially because she knew she could manipulate the water if she tried. Sakura's eyes flicked down to gauge the depth of the puddles, and Jump was surprised at what she saw. Kabuto's face was reflected in the water at her feet. Sakura's eyes shot up frantically, searching for Kabuto above her. But he wasn't there. In fact, he was still standing ahead of her and hadn't moved an inch. The face was smirking. I've had a fascination with the medical arts since I was a young boy, the face said casually, as if they were tying down for tea. Sakura gazed down at the face for a long moment, but glancing up at the real Kabuto, whose face had the same smug expression, the voice continued, echoing all around her as if being amplified by an intercom system. But the real Kabuto's lips didn't move at all. Ever since, I've bided my time experimenting on my own subjects, but also monitoring the medical research facility and hospitals in the hidden villages. It's in my head. Sakura breathed aloud as the world around her started tipping out of focus. The water was molding into prison-like structures. Kabuto's face was being reflected everywhere. I've heard about your abilities right away, of course. So I tailed you on your journeys out of pure curiosity. What I hadn't known at the time was that I struck gold. This is Genjutsu. Don't let him distract you. This is an illusion, Sakura repeated herself, willing her body to relax and mind clear so she could release herself from Kabuto's spell. But then the water prisons transformed again. It collected and grew into a single, massive beam of wire. Before Sakura could prepare herself for it, the beam was blasted directly at her, knocking her backwards and sliding across the sleek arena thaw. His attacks are real, she thought while shuddering breath, leaning to the side to cough off a mouthful of wire. A short while ago, during my routine hacking of Konoha's hospital surveillance system, I stumbled upon something most fascinating. I found you, running through the hallway with none other than Sauske Uchiha, the boy whom my master plans to take as a host. How intriguing it was to find that the very two we had our eyes on were connected somehow. Sakura sprang up to her feet, just in time to evade the next wire beam, but staggered a little from the gust it caused, and for the disoriented effects of the Genjutsu. I was already thinking of developing a disease, you see, but never really planned to pursue it until an opportunity like you came along. Kai! Sakura cried, attempting to free herself from Kabuto's assailing technique. Kai! But the wire beam was chasing her. She couldn't catch a break to clear her head, forming the proper hand shields. At first, the goal was merely to push you to your limits, to see what you were capable of. But then I realized the threat you posed. The threat you posed to the corruption of Orochimaru-sama's future host. Sakura bravely faced the wire beam and channeled all the energy to her hands, hoping to bend the wire away from her as she did before. But her chakra circulation was dampened, and the world seemed to be moving in slow motion. After witnessing the revolution you caused in the Land of Waves, I realized your defeat could do more to destabilize Sauske Uchiha, but the hidden village itself, you must be destroyed. Changing her mind in the last second, Sakura turned her back on the advancing wire, performed a few hand seals in rapid succession, slammed her paws into the wet floor. Like she was pushing a lever, a metal wall of earth sprang straight out of the ground behind her, blocking Tamara's path. The beam smashed to the wall, shattering parts of it to pieces. But overall, Sakura's Earth-release defense succeeded in protecting her. It also gave Sakura a short opening. Kai! She gasped, and her voice came out hollow and breathless. Her surroundings instantly came back into focus, and the cursed voice disappeared. But now Sakura was on edge. For the most part, Kamato's Genjutsu confirms what she already knew. She was Kamato and Orochimaru's target. However, now it was sealing in her mind, sinking her to her core. Was he going to try to kill her then? Before an audience of mostly Konoha inhabited spectators? Sakura charged up all the chakra she could muster to her fists. Let him try. She saw as a fierce growler sounded in her throat. She was feeling shaky, nervous, and hypervigilant. Her body was pleading for her to fight or flee. But right now, there was only one option. Sensing Kabuto approaching from the other side of her shattered her barrier, Sakura whipped around and smashed through it herself, catching Kabuto before he reached it. She followed through with the motion and punched him so hard that his body floated to the opposite wall of the arena. With a bang, it cracked it. Next thing she knew, Sakura was on him, straddling his hips and pummeling him mercilessly, using chakra to pin them both in place. In that moment, she couldn't process anything else. How she got there, when the audience was screaming, or Hayate's voice was crawling, she knew she needed to kill Kabuto before he killed her. She continued to punch until his glasses cracked and blood gushed freely from his mouth and nose. And then, something strange occurred. Kabuto started to laugh. It was peculiar enough for Sakura to freeze her fists to set. You get nightmares, don't you? He choked out, somehow appearing smug from his beaten, vulnerable position below her. Sakura couldn't understand why he would try to taunt her in a moment like this, when he was at the mercy of her fists. Your reflexes, hyper-reflexive. Your thoughts are scattered and you avoid things that trigger you. Haven't you put it together yet? What? Sakura hissed, with the slightest idea of what he was getting at. Her bloody, gloved fist was poised and loaded with chakra. I can tell you've been through war. Perhaps not war in the classic sense, but one that haunts you and tears you apart from the inside. Sauske flashed across her mind's eye. The older Sauske from her other life, whose skin was tinged gray and supported grotesque, ominous wings, everything she feared. You're your worst enemy, Sakura. All I have to do is... Shut up! Sakura shrieked, losing her patience for a psychological derailment, pulling her arm back to strike again. However, this time, Kabuto caught her wrist and pushed her off, taking advantage of Sakura's unsettled state, and when she stumbled back, he impaled her with Sakura's scalpel. His arm tore her through her dress, through the flesh of her abdomen, as her own blood splattered her face and arms. Sakura appreciated the blinding pain. It wasn't quite like anything she ever felt before. It was a pain that marked the end. There was collective screams elsewhere in the distance, but they were drowned by her hazy voice. Use it now! Yes, Tsunade-sama, Sakura whispered with every shred of strength she had, while hot blood trickled through her parted lips and down her chin. Her forehead burned, and her numb hands reached forward automatically, gripping onto locks of Kabuto's gray hair.